What's up, y'all? It's Rob. We're back in the shop at Biltwell. Got BF Josh's 2000 Dyna back on the lift again. Today we're going to be doing a fluid change that consists of engine oil, primary oil, and tranny oil. And we're going to do the filter as well. Josh's Dyna is a 2000. It's got an early twin cam motor in there. Some Dynas have Evo motors, and later model Dynas have later model twin cam motors. While the procedures and methods are the same for changing the fluids, the capacities might be slightly different. So please consult your service manual for proper capacities and torque specs and procedures. Before we get started on the fluid change, get the bike properly warmed up. And when I mean properly warmed up, go for a ride. Don't just let it idle on the lift. We want all that fluid in the primary, in the tranny, and in the engine to get all hot and circulated. I got the bike warmed up, got it on the lift. We're gonna go ahead and drain the fluids. There's 3 bolts that we need to remove to drain these fluids. Keep in mind, an Evo and a twin cam, these bolts are gonna be in different locations, so consult your service manual if you have any questions. These are the things you're gonna need to perform this task. Some engine oil, transmission oil, primary oil, a funnel, the proper oil filter for your particular engine, some pipe dope, a paint pen, oil filter strap wrench, a couple of drivers, a couple of ratchets, a pick, a T27 Torx bit, a T40 Torx bit, a 3/8 Allen head, and a 3/4 inch socket. And don't forget your service manual. All right, the first drain bolt we're gonna remove is the engine oil drain bolt. Now you'll find this on the left side of the oil pan, furthest to the rear of the motorbike. Go ahead and break that loose. Now remember, engine oil is gonna be hot, so be prepared with your catch can. Once you remove the engine oil drain plug, it's a good idea to take off your fill cap to aid in the draining. While you've got your engine oil draining, let's go ahead and move to the primary drain plug. And it's this little screw right here. It's normally got a Torx bit on there. And yours might have an Allen. Just go ahead and break it loose. Oops. If you find any metal shavings on any of your magnetic drain plugs, don't worry, that is totally normal. If you have a giant piece of metal on there, then you may have something to worry about, but this is totally normal. So just wipe that off, clean it, and you're gonna be fine. All right, and the last drain plug we need to remove is the transmission drain plug. You'll find it on the right side of the bike underneath. If you can see where my finger's pointed to, it's right here. So we're gonna go ahead and break that loose. And there you go. Once you have the transmission drain plug removed and draining, it's a good idea to remove the fill and dipstick to aid in draining. While you're giving your Dyna adequate time to drain the fluids, it's a good time to clean and prep your drain plugs. You can see I've already taken these drain plugs and cleaned them, took all the excess metal shavings and oil off. What I'm going to want to do next is replace the 2 O-rings on these guys with new ones, and just grab it, pop it off, discard that, put the new one on. Do the same with the other one. Pop the new one on. And one other thing I like to do to all 3 drain plugs before reinstallation is adding some pipe dope, also known as thread sealant. It's pretty much like a liquid Teflon tape. So I like to just put some on the threads. You don't need too much. Where is it? Just a little bit. And that's plenty. Once you've given your engine adequate time to fully drain and you've got your drain plugs prepped, we can go ahead and reinstall our drain plugs. We'll start with the transmission drain plug first. Now you want a nice, snug, tight fit, but don't over tighten it, as the threads in the pan are aluminum and the threads on the drain plug are steel, so you don't want to put too much pressure and strip it. That feels good. Next plug we're going to reinstall is on the primary. Go ahead and just wipe down that drain hole and reinstall that plug. And go ahead and reinstall the last drain plug into the oil pan. Just get it in by hand. Then tighten it down. Again, paying attention not to over tighten, because these are aluminum threads that a steel drain plug is being threaded into. All right, that feels good. We're gonna go ahead and remove the oil filter so we can put a new one on there. I like to take some foil, put it under that oil filter to redirect any excess oil into the oil pan and off your engine. So I use a strap wrench to break these loose. They work really well. All right, got that broken loose. So I'm gonna remove my strap wrench. Then I'm gonna go ahead and continue to break loose the oil filter by hand. All right, before you put a new oil filter on, make sure you get the appropriate oil filter for your engine. Keep in mind there's an oil filter for Evo and an oil filter for twin cams. You do not want to put an Evo filter on a twin cam. So please make sure you get the proper filter. As always, before I put on any oil filter, I like to put the date that I put it on. So we're gonna put the month and the year. Always put some oil in the filter and let that oil soak up in the filter element. Also take some of that fresh oil and rub it, a nice little film on that sealing O-ring. Just rotate that filter around to let that fresh oil absorb in the filter element. Then wipe down the sealing surface on the oil filter, where the oil filter meets the engine, and install. I like to get it hand tight and then give an extra quarter to half a turn with my strap wrench. Now, when you're tightening with the strap wrench, pay attention not to over tighten, as you can dent and damage the filter. Now that we've got a new oil filter on, it's time to start putting new fluids in the bike. Let's start with the primary. Let's go ahead and remove the derby cover. Now that you've got the derby cover removed, we can go ahead and fill our primary. Please keep in mind to use the proper primary fluid for your bike. To use a funnel, because things are really tight in here, so I just kind of wedge it in there, and I just pay attention to the fluid as it's flowing in. Make sure you don't drip any out. Josh's Dyna calls for a full quart. Please check your service manual for your proper capacity. All right, I've got all the fluid in the primary, so let's go ahead and seal that back up. Take a new gasket, put it on your primary. I like to do one bolt at the top with the gasket on the back, and I like to get that bolt started. Now, don't fully tighten this bolt, just get some threads on there. And go ahead and install the rest of the bolts. Again, do not fully tighten them, just get a couple of threads. All right, now that you've got all 5 bolts in there, go ahead and tighten them evenly in a star pattern. As always, pay attention to how you tighten these because we're putting steel bolts into aluminum threads. All right, all those are nice and tight. Primary side is done. Let's move over to the tranny and engines oil side. All right, now let's fill our transmission. Now, Josh's bike calls for 22 to 24 ounces of transmission fluid. A quart is 32 ounces, so make sure you do not put the full quart in your transmission if your transmission does not call for it. All right, that is 24 ounces of transmission fluid in there. You can go ahead and reinstall your dipstick. All right, the last thing we got to do is fill the engine oil. I like to take my funnel, put it right in there, and put All right, once you've got your bike filled with the proper capacities, go ahead and reinstall that filler cap. We're done. Fluid changing the Dyna, it's that easy. You too can do it. Just follow the steps I've outlined in this video, or check your service manual if you have any further questions on capacities, procedures, and techniques. Please dispose of your oil properly. And remember, it's easy as cake or cupcake.